गुड मॉर्निंग एंड वेलकम टू गना शॉट। गना शॉट में आप सबका स्वागत है। टुडे वी गोना टॉक ऑफ a very interesting topic called the NEIJUAN curse. Why I call it the NEIJUAN curse, everything I'll come through. The fundamental thing is, can China save itself from itself? I'll come back to this a little while. I'd like to mention something else, and that something else is this. I'd like to thank General Vinay Patankar for having joined Gunner Shot as a member. Now, why? It's important. For those of you who don't know, it's a great honor for Gunner Shot that Lieutenant General Vinayak Patankar, retired, has joined us. Who's Lieutenant General Vinayak Patankar? He's a gunner, he's a paratrooper, and he commanded the Srinagar 15 Corps. And later he retired as a Colonel Commandant of Artillery and as the Quartermaster General of the Armed Force, Indian Army. And he's a great thinker. And for someone like him to join Gunner Shot is a matter of honor for me. Let me put it in perspective. He was my Colonel Commandant when I was just a colonel. He was a Lieutenant General. He's such a senior man. So for such a senior man to come and join Gunner Shot as a member is indeed a great honor. And I thank you, sir, sincerely from the bottom of my heart for having joined Gunner Shot as a member. And of course, at this point, Ramkishan also has joined us as a member. Thanks a lot. Having done the honors, let me get back to this subject. Yeah, today's subject. Can China save itself from itself? Well, it's not a great inspiration. If you look at the cartoon which I got, this cartoon, I got it from South China Morning Post. That's the interesting thing. This cartoon is from South China Morning Post. It shows, a Chinese guy drilling his own boat. It can't be more explicit. And this coming from a Chinese media, I thought deserves great attention. This is the prevalent feeling within China, which is coming out. And mind you, this article which came out is not exactly. I'll show you that article. It's a series of a 3-piece article or 3 articles in a series, right? The first talks about the belt tightening which is going on in China. Very interesting. We'll talk of that also. The second talks of this NEIJUAN or in right. And the third talks of the job market. We'll touch on all 3. I'll get to you 2 in detail, right? And one and why am I doing this? I found, yesterday also we had this webinar on China. We get the feeling that China is far ahead of the curve as far as India is concerned. Oh yeah, might have been so some time back. Not anymore. That's not the way I look at it, right? And why I don't look at it that way is you have to have your ear to the ground. For a person who goes there, spends say 10 days, 15 days, you will get dazzled. But a guy like me who's been studying China and Chinese newspapers for so much, so long, for them to come out with such articles means quite a lot. I've not seen such articles come out in a stream every day, every second day. And why South China Morning Post? Many people say, oh, look, this could be propaganda and all that. No, it's not propaganda. South China Morning Post is the closest you'll get to any opposition paper. Right? Unlike most Xinhua, PLA, Delhi, or for that matter, Global Times and all, they do drum beating of whatever is happening in China. They'll not show you the senior part. South China Morning Post, which is based in Hong Kong, is the closest to an opposition because it's owned by Jack Ma, and I get the feeling these days. See, what had happened was about 4 5 years back, South China Morning Post was an independent organization. 2019. Why 2019? That till then, Hong Kong had it was functioning in that one party, two systems type. After that, after 2019, when Hong Kong was taken over, South China Morning Post lost its voice. After that, it was parroting out completely CCP claptrap. But in the past 1 year, I see opposition. And when people say, look, is there a problem in China? I say, yes, there is a problem in China because you're getting negative news out for the first time. It's coming out. And Jack Ma is a guy who was, put, I wouldn't say behind bars, but he was shunted out by Xi Jinping. He's making an he's coming back into the scene. And you see this Hu Juntao stories coming out, yeah, wo, all that. So there's something happening. You have to have your ear to the ground. And that happening is based on economics, military, political, diplomatic, geopolitical, everything. So that's why I keep focusing on these daily things. I mean, after all, if you have to know the health of a nation, what better than a newspaper? Whichever. You read 10 newspapers in a nation and you come to know what's happening in it. Isn't it so? That's why we have newspapers. And that's why I read Chinese newspapers. Whether it's economic news media or you know political news media or military media or their propaganda media, their vernacular media. So, but I found these three very insightful. So I thought I'll write. What is this? What is NEIJUAN? What is NEIJUAN? NEIJUAN is called involution. You have to understand. And mind you, this word NEIJUAN, I didn't know. I'm not Chinese. I came to know this about 8 10 months back. 10 months back. So I said, okay, this must be something new and all that. It's called involution. What is involution? We have to understand this. It's a concept from sociology that refers to a society that can no longer evolve no matter how hard it tries. I went into the dictionary, you'll not get a straight thing, and read a bit. That's what it is. It's it, it's not to do with business, it's not to do with it's just societal. There is something societal happening in China which we have to get our head wrapped around. There's one dictionary, when you go to the net, you get so many dictionaries. I found it very interesting. It it terms it as curling inwards. Then I thought, what is this? You have something called revolutionary. So the opposite should be involutionary. Revolution, involution. So that's the contrast which is coming out. And I thought, if there is an involution happening, we need to understand it better. Okay, we've heard of solar panels, EVs, and all that. What is this? This is an article, which is come out, which says China's power bank crackdown, 6 pre-flight answers for weary travelers. So there's a crackdown on power banks in China. Where did I get this article from? I got it from that original article, so we'll go there. This is that. The actual article on this, which I based my headlines, is can China's fastest growing firms save themselves from themselves? So I morphed it and said, can China save itself from itself? If the Chinese firms can't save themselves from themselves, how will China, because the sum total of the Chinese firms and everything, people, everything, is China. So can China save itself from itself? That's the question. That's the question which we have to answer of for ourselves. And that's a question which we have to understand what's happening. Okay, so we'll get to that power bank story. Actually, if you see, that power bank story I got from this article. It's referenced in this article. So I went to that, made a mix and match, and I'm presenting to you something which happened. And I'm going to talk of one industry, that is just the power bank industry, which we have not focused on. Okay? It says power banks are bursting into flames in flights. Their aviation regulator has issued an emergency ban. Several manufacturers are recalling these power banks. In fact, the thing is that when this started, piles of power banks piled up at airports because people didn't know. I'm very surprised. In India, you can't take a power bank. We know that. They ask you, they scan. If you have a power bank, thank you. But there, people are taking power banks. And a few of them have burst into flames. Now they are saying no more power banks. Okay? But that doesn't stop. So what if power banks are not taken in flights? Still they'll be used. It's not happening. Why? There's one firm called Romos, okay, which is one of the leading production agencies of power banks. And that suspended power bank production for the past 6 months. It's closed all its online stores. That's it. The future is not certain. Why? It's battery cell suppliers. After all, power bank is only cells. They have used illegally uh, some separator materials to lower costs. So they're making it costly. Now, this is the interesting part. The average price of a Romos power bank has dropped from 140 yuan to 70 yuan in 4 years. Take the cost of anything in India 4 years back to what it is today. Definitely, you'll know that the costs have gone up. There's nothing which is as, you know, I mean, there's no evidence in India. I mean, I'm just scratching my head. There's no evidence in India where an item has dropped by 50%. If it has dropped, it is because it's useless. Here is a case where a leading power bank manufacturer drops his price by 50% over 4 years. Okay. So there's an issue. If that chap has dropped price by 50% and it's not selling, so profits are shrinking. Everyone is doing it. This is just one. But if you read the article, it says everyone is doing it. So costs are shrinking and quality is going down and people are not buying. So further, this is a very interesting article. It says there are price wars across complete spectrum of Chinese economy. As it is not a provider of reliable goods. No one relies. Everyone knows that Chinese goods are not that reliable. Okay. And their trade tensions now with USA. And their trade tensions with everyone. And that's not helping them. And we'll come to that. There's a weak domestic demand. See, one of the reasons why prices are going down is people are not able to pay. If people are not able to pay, they want cheaper options. If cheaper options, the chap with a better quality, with higher this thing will not survive. So he has to drop his prices. So if one chap drops his price, the other chaps also join in. So there's a competition to go down. And that is a national problem today in China. Why? It is deflation. Deflation. The NEIJUAN curse, which I put, is actually deflation at mass scale. Says relatively subdued external demand, and then all this weak internal demand, external demand is also subdued. So, what does it say? Survival is difficult for suppliers, and hence they have to outcompete each other. Now, one way of doing it is mergers and acquisitions. What is the story of mergers and acquisitions? So, a chap who is big, and there's a small firm which is going out, he buys that up. So, these mergers and acquisitions are also being driven by the government to make it a big company. The other fellow who's a big company, he gets market monopoly. Okay, but it could be ruthless competition, it could be market monopoly, everything. But the fact is, fundamentally, the demand is not there. That fellow will not do anything. Just because you merge four companies, you will get some benefit of scale and nothing more. Today, China says officially that if you sell anything below cost, if you sell anything below cost, right? If you sell anything below cost, you'll be penalized. In India, if you have to sell anything below cost, people will say, oh, great, yeah, I'm happy. I'm getting cheaper. The government says you sell anything below cost, I'll tax you. I'll penalize you. Okay. Uh, Besides this power bank, the solar industry is in a problem. We've spoken of EVs, where BYD could any day collapse. It's still there. That thing has not come out of the thing. So all their sunrise industries in the market are suffering. This. And these are supposed to be their engines of economic growth. Prices have plummeted. And if prices are plummeted, see, if your prices are plummeted, your volumes might increase, the prices are plummeted. You'll see, oh, sales has increased in China. So what if your prices have gone down? Okay, why do sales increase? I'll say, "Yeah, China ka maal hai. I might as well buy two of them because I'll still get it at half the price of one. If one works fine, otherwise I'll use the other." So sales have gone up, but the profit has not gone up. So the circle is different, and that circle we all know. This is very common thinking, isn't it? And that's coming out. And losses are by small firms and big firms. Now, if one big firm eats up another small firm, the losses are the same. How does it help? I don't know. But they're doing it. You look at the consumer inflation rate. This is very interesting. The consumer inflation is a negative. It's gone down. It's deflation. Deflation has firmly set in China. And it is just not, here, you forget about this is 22-20. Look at this 24, little went up and it's gone down. It'll hang around there only. The way I look at it, it's not going to go dramatically up. It might hang around a bit here and there, but yeah. The answer is strict quality control. But who's going to do quality control? The state is doing administrative control. You don't reduce the prices. Things like that. They're doing basically the intervention is on sale price, but no one is bothered about quality. That's typical China. Quality doesn't matter. And that's why I keep saying, and we are fools. Many of our senior guys and people who analyze China, I feel, I wouldn't say sad. I'm worried about them. You know why? All this is happening. Everyone knows that anything with China is not reliable. Even the Chinese know that it is not reliable. They're cheap. Will it be different for the weapon systems? No. If and what's more, it's been proved in Op Sindoor that their weapon systems are also quite useless. If weapon systems are useless, they're not reliable. How can it be a tough army? Yet people say it's a military power. Beats my logic. Okay. Then there's someone who's spoken. He says, I mean, I must read this out and so that you understand. The real source of deflation actually comes from large corporations. Their access to cheap financing, that is banks, see them as safe borrowers. So large ones, they can be given money. So capital naturally flows to them in a weak economy. And even state subsidies go to them. It is state subsidies which allow them to maintain cutthroat pricing strategies indefinitely. So, what is China doing? It's giving subsidies to the big players. The small chaps are being squeezed out. Hmm? And that fellow is getting subsidy. And the cutthroat prices are on. There's no quality. State is intervening in some. I mean, one doesn't know what's happening. If all this was from Western sources, I'll say it's propaganda. But this is written by Chinese from China. I mean, this he talks another in this article. It's a three-piece series. Very interesting. Due to increased competition in the fireproof door market, so fireproof doors market, larger enterprises have resorted to price cuts to squeeze out the small competitors. That's also happening. So large enterprises are deliberately cutting prices because they can withstand. They're squeezing competition out, buying it up, and dominating the market. But yet, it's not making any way. And one of the guys says only by making these small businesses unsustainable, forcing them to sell equipment or shut down factories, can we secure market space. So everyone wants market space, which is not there. So to secure market space, you deflate your items. They are unsafe, unreliable. So virtually across this, if you read this article, you come to know about various facets of Chinese industry, which is in this kind of a story. So EVs, solar panels, this comes from Caxin. It's all referenced there. China's polysilicons major plan to bail out rest of glut-stricken industry. This is it's not a bailout actually; it's a buyout. So all the majors, big ones, are now catching hold of the smaller ones and saying, "Okay, we'll give you money. You now supply to us." So competition is going down. So if competition goes down, then what happens? Everything which is not supposed to happen in a business environment is not happening. That is why this business called NEIJUAN and illusion is dangerous. And China is not able to save itself from this. This is more problematic than what China can do otherwise, because today China is eating itself up. This Mr. Z also talks of Nijuan. I have not spoken. देखो ये इनका प्राइम मिनिस्टर है. At two sessions. When was two sessions held? August. At two sessions, China takes aim at insidious economic foe called Nijuan. This problem has been in existence now for quite some time. When a prime minister talks of it in two sessions and says, look, this is a problem we have, well, I think we need to pay heed to it. Their car production, same story. Sales reach new highs in June amid subsidies. The record exports. Everything is subsidized. Actually, many of these firms are making money on subsidies rather than manufacture. And I told you, subsidy cycle is very dangerous in China. The subsidy comes from bonds. Bonds are bought by whom? Aam Aadmi. Banks, basically. Banks buy it. Banks buy it out of what? Deposits of people who are putting money in the bank as saving. It's a vicious circle, involution. which is happening in China. And this is a hidden thing which is happening. We don't, somehow, many of us in India don't seem to be understanding this fundamental thing. Okay. This is the headlines which come out: Stop the price wars. China state media guns target cutthroat industrial competition. I'm not talking of state media is talking of it. And if you go to, all these vernacular, you'll get it. China's top leadership aims at disorderly low price competition. This is Xi Jinping's focus: how to cut low price competition. Is this the way forward for China? Or is it the inward way to China? I mean, this is schemes, refund only. Have you heard of this? It's there in China. They've stopped it for some reason. But it is like this. How does this scheme work? Is China mein scheme hi scheme hai. Only schemes. What's that scheme? So you buy an item, okay, you don't like it. So you say, I don't like it, I want to refund. The chap will refund you the money and not take the item back. Very funny. It became a scam in China. So China stopped it. But the company which did this scheme made some money out of it. How, we don't know. It happens only in China. I've never heard of a refund only scheme anywhere in the world except what I mean, mind you, this is not hearsay. This is a scheme which the Chinese government had to intervene. But that's the level at which Chinese are going. So this is the first part of the three-part series. These Chinese officials, China told its officials to tighten their belts. Did they go a notch too far? Very interesting. As per this, people are scared even to have coffee. That's the kind of tight belt tightening which is happening. That's the kind of austerity which is happening in China. People can do very little. Five-star hotels, drinks, and all are out. People are not even prepared to have coffee. People want to go home and eat food and eat, sleep. They're scared because that's the level of austerity which is there in China. I'll not dwell on this because that's not today's this thing, but it has got a major thing. Again, how has it affected the economy? You will say, look, so what if austerity drive? How does it affect the economy? In China, it was a fashion for firms. If you go and do business with a firm, they'll take you, dine you out, all that, and especially the state-run firms, patronage, official patronage, and all. Look, it starts. You have to go to a restaurant, drink, all that has stopped. So what has happened? The catering business is tanked. Everything is a cause and effect. The number of five-star hotels in China have reduced. I said this before. They're just coming down. People can't afford it. I mean, I look at it this way. On the other hand, I see in our country they're going up. Where I never used to see one a complete Chennai. I remember we had two five-star hotels, Taj and one Sheraton. Two for a long time. Today, my God, I don't even know how many are there. There must be at least 20 to 25. That's my conservative estimate. And in China, they're coming down. Look at it. Day before yesterday, this article came out. Okay. It says China monitoring the situation, economic monitoring, looking to head off worst case scenarios. They're looking for how do you tackle worst case scenarios. What is the worst case scenario for them? Their economy tanks completely. Why are they looking at it that way? Because there is something happening. Otherwise, why will a headline like this come out? I mean, if you go into the details, I'm just doing a headline thing. Where it's required, I'll go into details. Now, Xi Jinping, he's putting domestic market at the forefront because there's no other choice. And that there is no choice, not only there's no choice, they don't know what to do. They simply don't know what to do. As simple as that. This is it. Consumer prices have gone up a bit, little 0.1%. Can you imagine 0.1%? But deflation is on. This is great. Standard, you know, formula in China. China urged to restore local fiscal capabilities with 30 trillion yuan debt swap. What is this? So the local governments have no money. They are in debt. So what is this debt swap? You take debt from somewhere and repay this debt. That's the swap. And where's this debt coming from? In China, bonds. And where is this bonds originating from? The people. So that vicious involution is just not price cutting. The vicious involution is this article that you see here. People are in debt. To take the debt out, you take debt. And where's the debt coming from? It is coming from banks. Where do banks get money? They get it from people. And people are never going to be paid off. So people, whatever little they have, they're putting it in the bank. If they're putting it in the bank, they're not buying. It's completely involutionary. This is the third of that three-part series. Why China's white and blue collar workers are worried about losing their shirts, jobs. And certain things in this article actually opened my eyes, and I'll come to it. Look at this unemployment rate. Why this unemployment rate has come up again is because now, June, July, 12 million people, 12 million graduates are going to enter the work stream. And they don't have jobs as it is. Actually, this should be like this. I'll tell you why. In around 23, they stopped publishing when it was at 22, 23% unemployment rate for people in the age group of 16 to 24. They stopped publishing figures. After 2 months, they published figures. They started, no, it's only 15%. And it's gone like this. Now it's only 15% as per them. But it's not so. Actually, it's like this. It's somewhere around 22, 23%. So as it is, and now that's going to be added, another 12 million people are going to join the workforce, graduates. It's a very bad scene. That's why, you go back to this, workers scared of losing their jobs. Right. I must read a few things out. Bear with me. Might be a little boring, but it's going to be very interesting. I'll highlight. It says anxiety is gripping China's workforce with few exceptions among the industry. Very clear. Age groups and income brackets. Everyone across the board are in problems. From factory floors to corporate offices, the fear of layoffs, shrinking wages, and a dearth of alternatives is becoming universal. It can't be worse. While the urban jobless rate was 5% in May, June, under government's official target of 5.5%, the rate of unemployment, 16 to 24, that's the one which we just saw, was 14.9%, excluding enrolled students. So this 14.9% is here, but actually it should be here. That's China. Now let's go a little further. You go in further into this article. Across China, mid-career professionals, blue-collar workers, and seasoned executives finding themselves equally vulnerable, trapped in roles that no longer pay enough or push out of jobs they thought they were secure. So they're having pay cuts and they're being kicked out, and they're not secure in their jobs. Not even those who have spent much of their lives atop the professional pyramid are immune. It doesn't matter if you served 20 years in a company at the top. And they take a case of senior lawyers. What's happening in the lawyer community in this? It says senior lawyers, long associated with stability and success, are also quietly tightening their belts because they're not this thing. Why? Clients are less willing to legal services, and even when they do, the fees they pay are very low. It's just not one sector. It's just not the blue collar sector. Even white collar sector, lawyers. This talks of lawyers. The outlook is even bleaker for junior lawyers and new graduates. Fewer cases, lower pay, and meager job security. It's It further goes on. In the past, graduates of prestigious law schools could easily land offers from major corporations or government agencies like courts, prosecutional offices, and all that. Okay. But now, with fierce competition, many fresh graduates are willing to accept positions at ordinary law firms. Even then, salaries are not what they used to be over the last 2 years. Starting over the last 2 years, starting pay has dropped to 5,000 yuan per month from 7,000 yuan. Just think, you're a top graduate from a top law school. You join a firm, you get only 5,000 yuan. What is 5,000 yuan? 5,000 into 7, 35,000 rupees a month. And you call this a middle income country? I mean, just think, if today in India I have to have even guy to look after my house, I have to pay him 25 to 30,000. A driver gets that. And here you have a qualified lawyer entering thing and getting 35,000. That's it. And interesting, only graduates from China's top 5 law schools stand a real chance at landing a position. If you're a top lawyer from everything, you'll get 5,000 yuan. Can you imagine this? We don't, when we do strategic analysis of a country, we don't look at these nitty gritties. What's happening? I mean, at some level, this society is crumbling. It'll all look very nice from outside. What's happening inside, we don't know. This is the problem of a communist country. Every communist country has this problem. Okay, China's manufacturing industry is particularly under intense strain. A toxic mix of depressed growth, domestic policy tightening, and geopolitical uncertainty has sapped companies' willingness to hire or done away with firms altogether. In Guangdong alone, factory and small business closures have become frequent headlines in recent weeks as companies fight to survive amid shrinking orders, rising costs, and a murky outlook on global trade. This is the reality of China, and I am not saying this is all this good English. These are Chinese, not me. And it goes on to report, it says last week, the Central Financial and Economic Affairs Commission, a Communist Party body that supervises economic affairs, held their sixth meeting. Mark it, there's the sixth meeting. In a readout issued afterward, the commission called for a crackdown on cutthroat competition between firms that have sent prices into a downward spiral. If after 6 meetings you are not able to check this deflation, and you're talking about it's not depression of prices and all, you're talking about downward spiral. These are the words which are being used. And what good is that damn economy? Where is it going? The committee also urged the phasing out of obsolete industrial capacity as several manufacturing sectors develop sophisticated production lines that require less human input. While both recommendations are good for efficiency, they can be troublesome for the job market. So if people say, oh, nahi to they'll put robots. Robots dal do, people will still go without jobs. What will happen to them? Societal problems will increase. I'm not looking at the military capability anymore. I'm looking at the base thing that something is happening in China which we don't understand. Okay. According to Longi's annual report, it's one of their firms, big firms. I don't know what they do. Its workforce shrank from 75,000 to 37,000 in 1 year, 50% cut. Jinko Solar, over 23,600 employees down by 41% from the previous year. That's the kind of job cuts which is happening in China. Other major firms slashed staff by more than 20%, as collapsing profits forced deep cuts even amongst industry behemoths. Their status is very bad. While giants struggle to stay afloat, temporary workers and fresh graduates are already deep underwater. They'll never come out. This is not me, huh? It is not PR Shankar talking from his head. This is PR Shankar reading out what Chinese authors have written. China is being banned by USA to buy land. So people who have money in China also can't take it out and buy land in USA. That's a different story altogether. So if you see overall, this involution is killing China big time. And there is something happening. I mean, I was not prepared to even speak on this subject till yesterday. Yesterday morning, I saw this article. I saw the first one day before. Didn't strike me. I saw this yesterday. I said, look, this is something. That's why I showed the third one has come out today morning. I picked it up and showed it to you. This is real time and real time mega problem. You think it'll get resolved? I don't think so. So what do we do? The question is, what do we do? You have to recognize what the problem is. You have to make a proper assessment of China. In India, we make a great over assessment of China's economic prowess. Remember, ultimately, a nation is of people. If the people are not happy, that nation can't thrive. There's no political system. Even the CCP needs people. It needs people's support. It's called the People's Liberation Army. So there's going to be a major problem coming up, and we need to. It's an opportunity for us. It's a great opportunity because it's not happening there. Geopolitically, it's not happening. People are just not consuming. They're not. They're worried. So opportunity. What do we do? That's the thing. And the first thing is we have to assess China well, and then have a response. Is someone doing this? I don't see so. That's my disappointment. That's why I keep coming back on China regularly. That's why I keep telling all of you, please like these videos and tell all your friends. This is the reality of China. And we have to do something about it. Okay, fine. So that's what I have.